Now, with over 30 million registered accounts and daily peaks of about 25,000, Osu is by far the biggest rhythm game out there. Okay, but why should you play it? Well, let me tell you. But first, you know the drill. Something subscribers, so just go ahead and do it. Well, cause it's fun. Yeah, you would hope so. Alright. Osu is a rhythm game. The basic gameplay is extremely simple. You can either click the circle or click and hold on sliders and spinners. And that's all there is to it. But it being this simple, it still gives you infinitely scaling difficulty, but also makes it incredibly easy to get into the game. Cause you won't have to learn any weird mechanics or memorize a million different patterns just to compete. All you need is a mouse and click. Would recommend you do that with a keyboard though. Trust me, it'll help you later. But yeah, easy to get into, and it's got an infinite skill ceiling, and with all the millions of maps out there, you'll always have enough to play, no matter your current level.
Yes, but that's boring. I want to play the cool stuff from the highlights.
I mean, yeah, it obviously takes time to get there. Like, all the players at the top have spent thousands of hours with this game.
So everyone else has already spent years with the game. Then why even bother if I can't catch up?
I mean, first of all, yes you can. Our current rank 1 literally wasn't even born when the game came out. And secondly, you don't need to be rank 1 just to have fun. Like, that's just as dumb as watching a pro athlete and going, well, I can't go that fast, so what's the point to moving at all? Never mind. Let's go with a more fitting example. You don't quit League just cause you can't beat Faker. And you wouldn't expect to do so either, cause that would be dumb. So why would it be different with this game? Plus, you don't even need to play the hard maps to have fun. And sure, in the very beginning, you'll play boring maps, but those are literal tutorial levels, so don't worry. And once you got past that stage, with how big the community has gotten, you can literally always find people around your skill level to compete against. Whether that's trying to beat each other's scores, racing for ranked milestones, or even competing against each other in community-hosted tournaments, which yes, there are even some for new players. Or even on the less competitive side, just exchanging maps or improvement tips with each other. There's a lot you can do in the Osu community, but we'll get to that later, cause all of this is completely optional. So if instead you want to only focus on your own improvement and don't care for anyone around you, you can do so as well. At its core, it is still a single player experience. Yes, on a large scale, you're competing against other players on a global leaderboard. But when you break it down, the only way you can do that is by getting better yourself, making this aspect of the game entirely about self-improvement. So sorry for the cringy quote, but it's just about you today being a little better than you were yesterday. But then, why didn't I lead with that? Well, the problem is, this could basically describe any rhythm game. So then, what actually is it which makes Osu special? Well, for one, you got the gameplay, which might already be enough of a reason, cause it's pretty much the only rhythm game where you also have to aim, or at least the only one I could find. So if you don't want to just press buttons, it's pretty much the only thing you've got, but that's not even the main point I'm here to make. Like sure, the gameplay is great and all, but what really sets Osu apart has to be the absolutely infinite amount of user-generated content. And that can be anything from beat maps, skins, external practice tools, or even whatever the hell this is. And sure, this is less of the game itself, but more just the community. But it's still what gives you all of these options. Meanwhile, other games, they don't even have a level editor. Anyways, what this leads to is that you have millions of different beat maps you can play. And of course, they aren't just all the same song. So if there's one you like, there's a good chance at least someone else has already mapped it. Now I can't promise you that it's going to be a good map, but to check for that, you can just look if it's ranked or not. And if there really aren't any maps of it yet, well, feel free to add one yourself. Next, the game is of course completely free to play. And look, I want this video to still be relevant in a year from now, but to those poor souls watching this in 2022, this of course means no NFTs. I mean, there is some Osu merch, and technically that's also non-fungible, but come on, no one can right-click save away your t-shirt or your cool Osu socks. Instead, it finances itself entirely through a premium donation service, the benefits of which are, well, your name is more yellow. No, actually, it does provide some benefits, like inclined map downloads, but that's not gonna affect the gameplay. And I mean, wouldn't it be stupid to have a rhythm game be pay to win, right? Right? Okay, let's quickly return to the gameplay aspect again, because there's one more thing I want to talk about. Because often when you hear other people recommend Osu, it's usually about this, and it's completely wrong. Yep. Osu is not an aim trainer. Sure, I'm not saying that it can't help with aim, but if you're specifically looking at Osu because you want an aim trainer, then why don't you just play an aim trainer instead? Aim Labs is free and Kovacs just costs a few bucks. And either of them will help you a lot more than Osu ever could. And if you're really careful, you might even spot why that's the case. I know, aim trainers can be boring, but what Osu helps with is basically just mouse movement. And while it's not really worth it to start playing this game just because you want to be a god gamer somewhere else, if you play lots of Osu with mouse, you will get better at shooters. Not that you would still care at that point, because playing anything else is just wasted time you could have been farming. Anyways, what I want to get to with this is that if you want an aim trainer, there are just more effective methods out there, so why not use them instead? But next, I want to address one of the complaints some new players might have with the game. And yeah, this is an anime game, and there's no real point in arguing like it isn't. So if you absolutely hate any kind of Chinese cartoon and can't live with having it in your video games, then yeah, this probably isn't the game for you. Kinda surprising if you then watch the video this far though, thanks for that by the way. But if you just regular don't like or don't care much for anime, as I mentioned before, there are millions of maps out there, most of which aren't even anime openings. Sure, most of it is J-pop, but from electronic to death metal to classic, rap and nightcore, basically any genre you want is represented in Osu. And as for the visuals, there are enough minimalist skins to completely get rid of those too. And sure, personally, I would say that you're missing out, but hey, it's your call to make. And finally, I know I've been mentioning it here and there, but kept shoving it further back. Let's talk about the last big thing when it comes to Osu, the community. Well, I can already see a bunch of you typing some dumb shit about it in the comments, but honestly, shut up. It's really not as bad as our own memes are trying to make you believe. Cause just as with any other community, as long as you know to stay out of the obvious toxic waste pools, like Twitter, popular beatmap discussions, or the average open multi-lobby, it's actually quite nice. And I hate the fact that I felt the need to start the segment off like this. But Osu as a game is entirely community driven. All beatmaps are user generated. What gets ranked is entirely up to the player base. And even a few balance patches we do occasionally get, usually some random kid just cooked them up. And that's just scratching the surface here. Hell, if you can code, you can literally help work on Osu 2 right now. Like, that's how open Peppy is with the damn thing, and if you ask me, it's probably also one of the main things which made Osu this big. Cause the community is still 100% at a grassroots level. But this also means that you don't have any big corporate interests actively shoving anything controversial under the rug, making the bad eggs a lot more visible. But besides that, the community is actually pretty amazing, with almost everyone being willing to help you get better. Well, as long as you're specific about what you need and don't just ask, how do I improve? Cause that's annoying to deal with, and the answer will always be, just play more. And knowing my audience, I'm mostly preaching to the choir here. But in case you're interested in the game now, here's a quick guide to get you started. Download the game from here, and once it's installed, just get as many maps as you can. Just like this. And lastly, get yourself a skin. There's a link to mine in the description, but if you want a different one, just go to r/oskins and get one from there. Oh, and of course, go to options and bind the clicks to your keyboard, and now you're done. Hope this video helped you, and if it did, please like and subscribe, and if you want to watch more about Osu, just click here or here.